Yeah, most definitely. All right, so we are right into the game. And spawning in the bottom left-hand side, playing for Team Liquid. It is the Flaming Lips. Harstem.
And spawning over in the northeast side as our blue Protoss, it is ShaDoWn. Now, Everdream. It's a fairly decently sized map. Now, when it comes to PvP, I don't think there's really anything that a Protoss can necessarily abuse against the other Protoss, like taking the rich Vespene gas really fast, you know, like there's nothing super duper cheeky like that. It obviously has the normal stuff in that you have a nice little ramp up to your base that you usually wall off with 2 gateways. But one thing I guess it does have that can be maybe utilized a little bit, the low ground expo doesn't have a ramp leading up to it, meaning attacks can happen more easily without that high ground vision.
Yeah, that is absolutely true. That negates somewhat. There's an open space right outside of the ramp as well, which means the army can kind of fan out and not worry too much about sentries, right? Like sentries lose a little bit of their power and the wall can become exposed. That's a great point. Already scouting for proxies is Harstem, as he should. I think this is good from him.
Yeah,
helping his own.
Oh, I mean, PvP, there's a lot of proxies of their own, right? And even though we've talked about Harstem being the quote-unquote more macro-orientated player, one of the greatest things a macro player can do is also just learn to be all-round. We've seen that with Serral. He did that cool proxy hatch yesterday against Seoul, and yeah, we do have a proxy pylon on the map for Harstem. Now, I guess the disbenefit of this is he doesn't get to scout exactly what his opponent's doing in his base, but he does see his probe in his own base, and wow, a proxy robo facility.
Yeah, I think this is kind of just standard PvP, the proxy robo. I think it was like an epidemic at some point, right? Where everyone was just going proxy robo every game. It's a little bit more of a mix right now. Even though Harstem is the more macro-oriented player, I think PvP might be the exception to the rule. And 2 Stalkers. I never know, Ben, how to tell like 2 Stalkers, 2 Adepts, 2 Sentries. Do you know what the benefits of some of these compositions are against each other?
You know, I tried a while ago to learn. So like the Adepts can obviously harass. The Stalkers are a bit more like this can lead into either a 3-gate push or some aggression. The Sentry obviously provides the hallucination. But then I started seeing really weird variations, like like not only was it like, oh, a Stalker Sentry, now it's like the Adept Sentry and then the Sentry Sentry follow-up and stuff. Like just very, very peculiar. But we do have different variations here, obviously. So Stalkers meet out in the map. We have a Nexus going down for ShaDoWn, and obviously the proxy Immortals coming out for Harstem. So absolutely a flip of the coin here.
Yeah, this was really nice. Oh, ShaDoWn, did he see it?
No, he did not.
He didn't go up the ramp? Oh my god! Really? Amazing.
You know,
not the least lucky Stalker. Oh no, no, he's gonna find that Immortal. He was not expecting an Immortal there.
You know, when I'm thinking about scouting, and I'm like, yeah, if I go to a ramp, I'm gonna stop at the bottom of it and not find out what's at the top. Like, ShaDoWn's probably kicking himself a little bit for that minor mishap, but does get his own Stalker. Yes, one of his is bruised, but he's doing all the right stuff on his side of that. Like, he's getting his own shield batteries and such. So, oh, in fact, he's doing it on the high ground as well. One on the low ground. I mean, will he be able to hold this off? I think he should be okay, but might have to give up this natural.
Yeah, he may just have to. I mean, this Immortal is complete surprise to him, lost him a Stalker. Luckily for ShaDoWn, on the other side, he also has Stalkers that cut off reinforcements already a little bit. So maybe he can do something here. He's gonna recall, so he thinks he can defend.
Oh, I think, yeah, he did an attack on the other side of the map, and I think he forced a warp in by Harstem in his own base. I see some units trying to march across the map, so that little attack by him definitely slowed down Harstem's push, but an Immortal is nothing to scoff at, especially with Warp Prism. And Harstem's feeling the pressure. He's actually going for the Robo Bay behind this, so this signals to me that he wants to go for some disruptor play, like trying to abuse the immobility of his opponent, but ShaDoWn's in a good position, I feel.
Yeah, it's exactly what you've said. I think that Disruptor is going to make it so that he has a sieging position, and ShaDoWn is kind of pinned back on his 2 base. So Harstem is pretty much all in, where he has to do a lot of damage, I think, with this upcoming Disruptors. But, I mean, how do you avoid Disruptor shots if you're ShaDoWn, right? Like, he does have the Nexus and more units for the moment, but once those Disruptors get here, he's going to be pinned against the wall.
Oh, he certainly is. Harstem's definitely making life awkward for ShaDoWn, but now that 2 Immortals are out, these can, well, technically one-shot probes, deal with pylons very quickly, and he is going for the pylon to depower the Immortal, or rather the robot facility. Oh, doesn't get it even. This is actually really... It's a very tricky situation for Harstem, even losing the sentry here as well. ShaDoWn's playing way better than I thought he was going to be playing against this, honestly.
Absolutely, and moving out on the map is really nice against the Disruptor as well, because if he keeps map control and he's not pinned back, everything that I said earlier does not carry any weight, right? If the Disruptor doesn't have a wall, if the units don't have a wall behind them, essentially, they can run freely from the Disruptor shot. So let's see, 3 Immortals though.
3 Immortals are scary, and the Stalker, like, there's a lot of firepower in this army, and it's always kind of tricky being the defender, right? Like, of course, he has the shield batteries, but dealing with this Warp Prism with 2 Immortals in, like, you need to bring the right amount of units to deal with it, and the first Disruptor is out now. This could take ShaDoWn by surprise, because a lot comes down to whether these hit or not.
Yeah, these are a lot of units by Harstem. I don't know how they wouldn't hit is the problem. Look at this positioning, right? I think this is going to be extremely difficult for ShaDoWn now. I think you're right. He played a great game so far, but oh no! Okay, just 2 Stalkers, not the worst thing in the world, Ben. And actually, the shield battery overcharge, I think it's going to buy ShaDoWn a little bit of space here.
The problem is his Warp Prism is actually in Harstem's main right now. I don't know exactly what's going on over there. He is killing probes. We see 8 falling on that side of the map. So ShaDoWn, not only is he kind of holding this, but a second Disruptor is now out. The pressure is just mounting on his side of the map. And while Harstem does hold in his own base, the supplies are closer than ever now.
Yeah, and that Disruptor is very weak as well. So he could be sniped, but he won't be for this shot. ShaDoWn could be paying attention to that. The Nexus is going to be under threat, but ShaDoWn has a lot of units, and that's the last Disruptor shot. Will he chase?
I think he has to. Like, there's no more Disruptor shots available, at least for the time being, but he did lose the Nexus, and that's pretty much what Harstem wanted, I felt.
Initially, yes, but remember how much damage Harstem took back at his base. So if we look at the resources right now, I think ShaDoWn can anticipate that regardless of losing the Nexus, he is ahead in economy.
That is true, that is true. So Harstem's one advantage really is, well, he has Disruptors, which are big. Oh, nice drop on the main ground there, getting some shots off with the Immortals. Harstem is still slightly behind in supply, but his army is better. Oh! Nice dodge, nice dodge. Oh, he's doing it again. Oh!
No! I think ShaDoWn is actually in a decent position, Ben. And yes, Harstem's army is better, but he doesn't have any Stalkers. So how does he ever deal with the Warp Prism from ShaDoWn, right? I think he can micro very easily against the Disruptor. I mean, I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't be able to, but I think, you know, a good Protoss player. Yeah.
Wow, ShaDoWn just microed really well there. I didn't want to interrupt you. Like, all those mortals got so low on health. I'm genuinely surprised about how that game went, honestly. Like, Harstem being the super aggressor there. And I mean, ShaDoWn's a mystery to me right now as to how good he's actually is and playing. And he's always been this kind of, I'm going to be crazy player. But that game, he was very rounded, very solid, very composed. And also the fact that he was able to multitask so well by attacking at the same time as defending. I'm very impressed by his play.
Yeah, that was very impressive indeed. And I think he's always been a very micro-oriented player. I mean, we were just talking about how he was playing Warcraft 3. We both know that game is very, very much micro-oriented. And I think that's what ShaDoWn has always liked. He's always liked, in particular, Warp Prism and Immortals. Like, he sometimes does the proxy in PvC. So he's very good at that control, very used to, very much in his comfort zone, I think, that game. And that was very impressive by him. Almost a little bit scary there when he didn't go up that ramp, though.
And that's the thing, right? That game didn't really start off the best for him, kind of lost his Stalker out in the open, didn't quite get the scout off, and ended up winning it anyway. Like, don't get me wrong, it was not a landslide victory. Like, any one of those moments could have really tilted it either way, but definitely a good start for ShaDoWn, because every map matters at this point. And against a player as good as Harstem, yeah, I'm just sincerely impressed. But I'm also impressed by Harstem just mixing it up a little bit and not showing that he's like a one-trick pony or anything, because maybe the next game he's going to do something completely different.
Absolutely. One more thing that I think we didn't give enough credit to ShaDoWn for was, I think in the initial attack, yes, he loses the first Stalker, but then he grabs the next 3 and uses them to cut reinforcements of Harstem. And I think that's what eventually led 2 Stalkers of Harstem. Well, he lost 1. He got 1 pushed back, I believe, and forced the the warping that you were mentioning, right? And I think that's what allowed ShaDoWn for enough time to maybe hold the first wave comfortably.
Actually, yeah, that's a really good point. If those units were on his side of the map, and I don't know if they were adepts actually, but say if adepts started making the world even worse, like trying to shade into the main mineral line and stuff at the same time as doing all the warp prism stuff, yeah, it could have been really, really darn hard to hold. And I do understand, like when you play against a player that maybe isn't quite as experienced as you, and you put them under pressure immediately in the first game of a series, like Harstem can like wipe his brain clean kind of thing. He tried something, it didn't work out, but now he's got a feel of how good his opponent actually is, which I think is really important too.
That is true.
Anyhow, getting into the second game of the series, currently 1-0 up as our blue Protoss, it is ShaDoWn.
Play some music for this guy. It's Harstem. Drums.
Have you had any fun map, or rather any fun games on this map so far involving the speed zones?
Involving the speed zones? No, not really. The speed zones are too small to make a difference, I find. I mean, you know, like what all can happen in this? Have you had anything crazy happen?
You know, very often, like when the game gets to it, like people tend to take down the rocks on either side of them, and that's probably where battles more likely happen. I saw one situation yesterday. Oh, what is this? Oh, okay, so a forge going down, ShaDoWn going for the cannon rush.
He's a nasty.
Yeah, this is cool, and this is a new map as well, so things haven't been totally figured out within regards to positioning. I am curious to see how this goes.
I mean, it's going pretty well so far for ShaDoWn. You have to imagine this is exactly what he planned so far. Only one probe able to attack the cannon at the time on the low ground for Harstem. ShaDoWn needs to keep a probe on the high ground alive. This is very important. So that's why he has two probes, and this one is being chased by so many.
This is actually getting really dicey. I think Harstem's doing a good job so far of just chasing that probe, maybe with ready for a while, but now he's fighting the cannon Rambo style though. Is this the right move? Okay, a Zealot is out.
Yeah, I think with the Zealot he's gonna be able to do this. The probe in the main falling is not great, and there's a lot of surface area on that cannon, but I think ShaDoWn is not too sad with this. He's actually ahead in workers at the moment, and Harstem also made a forge himself.
He needs to, okay, did cancel that pylon. Okay, so let's take a breather for a second. Harstem didn't actually mine any gas. He does have the assimilator up, but he is 3-4 probes behind right now. And back at home, ShaDoWn's gateway is obviously delayed, and you know he lost the cannons and stuff, but it's not exactly straightforward who's ahead and who's behind from that kind of situation.
I'll call it a wash. It's difficult, yeah, because Harstem is gonna have the access to that earlier cybernetics core, and thus the opening into oh my god, ShaDoWn is trying again. The opening into tech, but ShaDoWn does have those extra probes, so you're very right. It's very difficult to tell who's ahead.
You know what's also kind of fun? Like, Harstem... Oh, okay, so this probe gets in, but it was kind of threatening the cannon rush. It wasn't going to happen, but Harstem had to respect it regardless. But Harstem also made his own forge, which I know you do make if you get cannon rush kind of thing, but never really utilized it, right? Like, no cannons ever came down, so maybe Harstem's thinking, this could have definitely went better for me.
Oh, certainly, yes. Like, he did make that forge, and he didn't need it, so... this is a wasted investment, no doubt, for Harstem. I mean, you could technically use it to get a +1 or something early, but you know you're not gonna have really the number of units that you want to invest upgrades into at that point.
And both of them behind this have gone for one single gateway. If I'm looking at this, I am looking at this right, which this is already going to be a very weird PvP from this point forward. Stargate does start for ShaDoWn, along with a Nexus as well. So,
oh wow.
If there was some kind of income graph that I could look at, I don't know if there is, but I do think that ShaDoWn has benefited a lot from this early stage of the game, and yeah, he has.
Yeah, I think partly that's because I think that Harstem could have dropped tech as soon as his Cybercore finished, but I don't think he did, and that's I mean that was his one advantage that we were talking about, right? The fact that he got had the gateway earlier and the Cybercore with it.
It's, I guess, the only bad thing for ShaDoWn is his base layout, like his wall off, is a little precarious. Like, there he was having to block with a gateway, as opposed to just like a shield battery or a pylon, which costs him a little bit of extra if he wants to cancel it. But Harstem does get the scout off. He does know the Nexus is going up. And then he just starts his own Nexus behind this.
Yeah, but the Oracle, is there going to be enough? I mean, there could be 1 or 2 Stalkers. Harstem actually making a sentry right now, so not even that. There's going to be 1 Stalker and 1 sentry, and that means the Oracle is at least going to get some kills.
Yeah, no shield battery going up either.
Forge. Again, an awkward usage of the Forge, right? Because it's like you have a Forge, you feel like you have to use it, but by the time that upgrade finishes, there's not going to be that many units. So this is more like I already have the investment of the Forge, I may as well.
It's just a really precarious spot. Like, any move you do, it feels like you could be getting further and further behind. But 2 Stalkers in the main.
Okay.
Very decent hold. And now he knows that Oracle Tech is on the map. Honestly, Harstem's doing well here. Even though the early game was definitely crazy, having these 2 Adepts ready on the map as well to kind of do something and shutting down the Oracle harass so far. Obviously, he's not out the woods yet, but we've got a game on our hands.
Oh yeah, it's much better now. I mean, that first deflection of the Oracle was amazing. Sometimes I wonder if Protoss players should just wait for 2 Oracles. Like in PvC, it seems good because every Zerg is always ready. Oh, very nice target firing.
And Harstem's got units everywhere.
Yeah, everywhere he needs to, and that's because of the hallucinated Phoenix, right? Like chasing the Oracle, so he could position perfectly. Very nice moves by the veteran at this point.
Oh, nice force field to keep in those Adepts. But those Adepts are getting quite a handful of probes here, and that is the kind of damage that, like 3 probes, that's probably the least you're going to get out of them. I mean, it was a nice force field by ShaDoWn, but still making use of those units that don't really serve much of a purpose later on in the game.
Yeah, most certainly. Not too bad for Harstem. This game has definitely stabilized in most of every ground, I would say. I would even say I think I like Harstem's position better because he has access to the Twilight Council, whereas the Stargate is kind of just dead at this point, right?
Yeah, I mean, like, the only thing I can imagine you adding Phoenix, or rather any Stargate units, is if your opponent goes Disruptors, then you have, like, access to Phoenix, but I am curious. So Harstem's going for Blink here. Like, in my head, I know a lot of Protossers are like, okay, I need to get charge ASAP from this kind of situation, but Harstem just being okay with the defender's role, and also maybe just getting ready to do some harass with, because he needed to make a lot of Stalkers to deal with the Oracle, so just having them on the map be a little bit more useful could be good too.
Exactly. I think that's the big part of it, is that he already had the commitment, and now he can gain map control with Blink, he can gain a bigger economy with Blink, and he has to be careful of the Immortal count, right? Like, that's where it can get out of control, where ShaDoWn can push out before Harstem has enough Immortals or something like a Disruptor of his own. So the Stalkers have to go out on the map whenever they are ready.
Okay, so Templar Archives does start for ShaDoWn. Now, he's kind of going for more what I thought was the standard, like getting a lot of gateways, going up to Archon Zealot kind of thing. But Harstem's also doing the same thing. Like, what's that expression? Like, all paths lead to wherever? But all paths yes, thank you. All paths do lead to Zealot Archon in PvP, it does feel, no matter where you start off.
Yeah, I mean, it's just such a strong comp. And Harstem, I mean, making use of the map control that he's going to gain even before he gets it, right? Takes that third. I really like it. ShaDoWn, I'm not sure if he's aware of that third because he has the trap set where he thought Harstem might be taking his third.
Yeah, it's like I haven't yet discovered what's most fitting to me. I mean, he does scout it, actually. They've both been playing very diligent with their scouting in different ways, like hallucinations being used, Adepts being shaded in, and obviously the Oracle. It's nice play by both of them, just keeping tabs on what their opponent's doing. But I was saying I haven't yet come to terms with where I want to place my own third on this map, because placing it on the high ground is nice because there's these ramps that go up to you.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm not entirely sure, because this third feels more defensive because it feels like further back as opposed to like more forward to your opponent. But is it as safe? I'm not sure yet. But ShaDoWn, he's got a lot of supply available here, but Harstem did just catch up, and Harstem has a surplus of pylons as well.
Yeah, I mean, the nice thing about this third, even though it's a little bit closer to your opponent, is that there's a ramp leading to it that's pretty choky, right? Like the other side, you would see the army coming for a while if you were to get flanked. So I like it. It's a nice pocket.
And Harstem, like, I feel that if he's adding cannons, that makes me think that he's more confident if this game goes on. Because most times I'm like, okay, if I add cannons, that's less of an army, and if we do fight out in the open, I'm going to have less. And yeah, him sitting back and being in that position making cannons In fact, what is the probe count? Oh, he's got a significant probe lead, so he's making the right call with those as well.
Definitely. He did get that expansion a little bit sooner, and he's aware of that. So I think that's where he anticipates that. And he also lost like nothing to the oracles, right? So he's probably feeling like he has an economic lead, and he would be right.
He definitely would be, but ShaDoWn's army, like, it is scary still, and like having a good amount of oracles. Oh wow, Harstem blinks on the Warp Prism, takes it out immediately as ShaDoWn was kind of like trying to reposition there, but now Harstem's in a bit of a dicey spot. ShaDoWn's coming in from the south, coming in from the north, a bit of a sandwich for those Stalkers, but they blink the opposite way. Is ShaDoWn doing it here?
I don't know. Remember, there's the overcharge for the shield battery. Is it being used yet?
It hasn't been used yet, I don't believe, and that shield battery is now out of juice. The probe count is retained. ShaDoWn and Harstem are now equal supply, but that does mean that his army is still greater than Harstem's.
But the overcharge. I mean, I think I think that'll delay. I think that'll delay the attack at least one more time, right? Like that thing will make it so that one unit does not die.
Certainly.
So we'll see. We'll see if that's enough. And Harstem continuing to add defenses here. ShaDoWn, I think, did a good thing in poking on the side where there wasn't cannons or shield batteries, and I think a little bit of a mistake from Harstem to try to hold once ShaDoWn was already up the ramp without the help of those shield batteries and cannons. I would have liked to see him retreat a little bit earlier, because that wasn't a good trade for him, right?
No, yes, I do agree. Harstem making 5 more shield batteries, by the way. Like, he's really respecting this push. I love the position of them as well.
Beautiful. And even if ShaDoWn chooses this other angle to attack, you can always retreat to those shield batteries, because the units here are so low range anyway on both sides.
I love that bait with the fake hallucinated Warp Prism, by the way. And now ShaDoWn's coming in from both sides, and yet again, but his supply is falling so rapidly.
Yeah.
Battery overcharge goes down.
Yeah, that Archon will not be dying today. And beautiful hold by Harstem between the sandwich of shield batteries. I agree. That was a nice trick by ShaDoWn, but I don't think he even gave Harstem enough time to react to it. So I would have loved to see that. I think he was just banking on Harstem looking elsewhere, and this is going to be GG. Beautiful hold by Harstem.
And ties up the series 1-1 now between these two players. And that game, it started off pretty spicy. You know, ShaDoWn went for that cheeky cannon rush on one of the new maps, and Harstem reacted appropriately. I think ShaDoWn definitely got a bit of a mineral lead there, but Harstem, like, that was more what I was expecting to see from these two players before we started the match. Like, ShaDoWn being a little bit crazy, Harstem being cool, calm, methodical, and yeah, what a beautiful start to the day.
I would say so. Yeah, and I'm looking forward to game number 3. I'm the only person that can get predictions correct now at this point. So at the very least, I'll be the least wrong.
That is true. That is true. Yeah, I mean, like, ShaDoWn in that first game played magnificently, and he had a moment in this game which he tried to seize, and it was kind of the right call, right? Like, he was behind 15 probes, he had a bigger army, but Harstem making the cannons, or making as many cannons and making as many shield batteries as he did, just spreading them out as well, knowing that his opponent's trying to flank him. Yeah, it was very clean play by him.
Yeah, I would say so. I really like the cannon rush. I think that ShaDoWn did have an advantage. Difficult, you know, in retrospect, you look at it and the Stargate just didn't pay off for itself, right, at all. But it looked like the right call to me at that point in time. Even there was such a narrow window for Harstem to get the second Stalker to his main and to have it in the right position to deal with the Oracle. So that was just kind of perfect defense for Harstem and on the follow-up, and that stabilized the game for him.
You know, whenever I make like an air harass unit, like I get the same feeling with Banshee. Very often I'm like, okay, I got to deal damage now. Like I've got to fly in, like regardless. But Oracles are such a good unit for later on as well, with the revelations and stuff that can be used for like just tracking what your army's doing. But yeah, I think one thing that he's probably telling himself is he should have played more patiently with the Oracles, not necessarily diving into Stalkers when he saw Stalkers and what have you, because they're a unit that can be useful later on as well.
Definitely. At the same time, you feel like you got the snowball going if you're ShaDoWn, you know? Like I'm from the perspective, you're more of a macro, you're more of a Harstem player, I'm more of a ShaDoWn player, you know? So I think he would have smelled, you know, like that he was a little bit ahead and then thought, I can snowball off of this. I can maybe... So I can't blame him too much for throwing in the Oracle. It looked strong while he was building it, and then Harstem was just... Perfect.
And yeah, let's be fair. He was 1-0 up. So being able to get like a cheeky 2-0 win against Harstem, that'd have been awesome. Anyhow, speaking of the man himself, spawning in the top right of Ice and Chrome, it is Harstem.
And on the bottom left, looking for an upset, it's ShaDoWn.
No cheeky probes as of yet leaving either base, which is a good sign for a bit of a macro game thus far, but PvP is so unpredictable, and yet no forges go down first, so... But, like, yeah, PvP is so unpredictable as to what you can do. Like, obviously it's gone through recent balance changes with the battery overcharge, meaning that it kind of leads more to a macro game, but it's still absolutely undiscovered what their true capabilities are with having the overcharged battery, I feel.
Yeah, I mean, they can definitely heal units and get to that Archon Immortal Stalker, but how they get there is the thing. It's weird because we talk about how varied PvP is, but pretty much, you know, if there's not a cannon rush, there's 2 gateways on either side. The cool thing is the units that we were talking about earlier, right? It seems like Adepts have some potential to harass. I think Stalkers will be king on head-to-head fights against any other 2 units, right? And the Sentry is really nice if you can sneak it out and scout. So we'll see what the players decide to go for here. It looks like this could be another proxy on either side, but I think it's just so that they don't get scouted more than anything else.
Yeah, and look how mirrored they are, by the way. Like, everything down to a T, down to the proxy pylon placement. Like, these probes as well on the map. Yeah. They are almost mirroring each other at this point. And yeah, if you do get scouted and your opponent sees that there's a pylon missing in your base, it's like, oh, okay, he's doing something a bit cheeky, but it doesn't mean he has to. It just gives him the potential to. And here we see that deviation. We got 2 Adepts versus the 2 Stalkers.
Alrighty, so and as we would expect them to, right? Like the 2 more defensive units for Harstem, and the more harassy, the more crazy units out on the side of ShaDoWn. So we'll see what they are able to do. Both players are gonna find their missing pylons as well. So that's
and
sketch.
ShaDoWn is going for more Adepts behind this as well. Like, so he's absolutely wanting to be a little bit aggressive. I think as well, given that he placed his pylon on the low ground already, he's probably going to be using that aggression to play greedy behind it and get up his own nexus, and that's exactly what he does as well.
Oh, did Harstem see that? That might have been perfect by ShaDoWn. I think he got past the Stalker, and that could be huge because Harstem is scouting very diligently, and he's going to be caught out on the map. Still, there is a probe, and they will be paying attention. Very nice job. Wow.
I'm impressed they actually got to snipe that probe there as well. Like, a lot of people, their shades don't necessarily finish right at the end there, but that did with those Adepts, so they immediately shot out, and he kills the scouting probe as well. Wow, 6 Adepts. Like, this is super duper crazy, and there have been times when I've seen this, and it goes up against an Oracle, and you kind of just die kind of thing, but this is a huge, huge commitment now. Like, if Harstem scouts this and gets to see how many Adepts are on the map, I feel that he just plays defensive, plays safe, doesn't let anything bad happen to him. It's easier said than done, obviously, but yeah, what a crazy opening by ShaDoWn.
Yeah, I mean, as we are seeing, Harstem is comfortable on the top of his ramp. He used the hallucination because the scouting is so important, and we'll see those Adepts. ShaDoWn will also expand behind this, so it's not super all in, but he has to do something for sure.
Could this be one of those situations where he saw it, but did he see it? Because he's totally going on the low ground now with his army, and there is a shield battery there.
Yeah, I think he can fight here. The probe has very diligently been up there. Oh, but this time around, ShaDoWn will just click right away. I mean, this is a lot of Adepts, and let's see what he can do here, Ben.
And the probes are already pulled, so lost mining time, and 6 falling immediately here. Now they go back into the natural, more probes falling, and Harstem, he's in a tough spot here. His army is technically better in a straight-up fight, especially with the shield batteries, also with the Oracle on the map, but man, that is damage you don't want to be taking in PvP.
Yeah, and ShaDoWn barely losing anything there, so a brilliant move from him. And you know, like, I'm just not used to PvP, but of course, if you don't drop the building preemptively and, you know, very much in advance, the Adepts can just one-shot it. That makes perfect sense. I just didn't think of it.
It's a super crazy move, like 8 Adepts. Like if this Oracle, or if Harstem chose to go for an Oracle sooner, for example, and can catch these guys out on the field like he does now, it just gets absolutely shut down. But man, what a crazy play by ShaDoWn. And so far, it's got him in a decent lead. 41 probes to 30. Like, it's all well and good killing all these Adepts now, and I guess it's absolutely worth it for Harstem, because even having 2 Adepts left, like, if they get into a mineral line, those are going to be probes falling.
Oh, really? Absolutely. Yeah, that Oracle was on a quest for revenge, and he got it. But I like ShaDoWn's position as far as him having the eco lead this time around. We'll see what he's able to do with that. Maybe a faster third. He is getting the Templar Archives and charge.
The only thing that I feel he has to worry about, right, is Oracle's dealing damage to his mineral lines, but he seemingly has a good number of Stalkers in each one of those. Does he have a Robo as well? Let's have a quick look. He does indeed have a Robo, so he can start making Immortals, getting together that really good army that he wants as well.
Yeah, what I would like to see is a third if he's gonna take it at all. There's the 2 Adepts from Harstem. Will they shade in? And they do, actually. So we have 2 Adepts in the main. And we'll catch all of 4 probes, so not too bad.
Definitely not too bad. And now Harstem's got a bit of the probe lead, but obviously ShaDoWn had been mining more for longer. And ShaDoWn, he's putting down 6 gateways all at once here, Kat. So I think we know what his kind of game here is. And Harstem's playing really well with these Oracles, by the way. This is what I kind of wanted to see from ShaDoWn in the previous game. Just a lot more patient with them, and when you do have an opening, then you take it. Don't try and force something out of nothing.
Yeah, and I really like Harstem's position because he's preemptively going for the Disruptors. I think that could be a very, very strong unit defensively. I like that ShaDoWn does take a third, but at the same time, all of his gateways got scouted at the same time. I wonder if this third is a reaction to all of his gateways being scouted. I'm ShaDoWn being like, okay, then I'll macro since you scouted my more aggressive position. Or is it more of a trick to begin with? I don't know.
I remember TLO saying something a while ago about transitionary thirds from doing like 8-gate pressure builds and stuff, which I always thought was kind of cool. But in this case, going up to like 6 to 8 gateways on 2 bases is fairly normal, just because your opponent has all the same tools that you do. And then having this third to fall back on, because like 400 minerals isn't the biggest thing in the Protoss arsenal, and it's not as if he probed up like a madman with this, like it's 48 to 49. Now it's just kind of a game of just making sure that he knows exactly what his opponent's doing, whether he's leaving his base, whether he's coming to be aggressive. And so far, both of them have done a really good job of making sure the other person isn't up to no good.
That is true. And yeah, to your point, I think that gas units are mostly going to determine the outcome of these fights. So minerals, a lot of the time, you can use freely on cannons, on shield batteries, Nexi, whatever you need. A lot easier than you can allocate your gas. And it looks like ShaDoWn is going to be going for a lot of Archons to start off with his gas, whereas Harstem is adding those Disruptors and Blink as well.
Yeah, like these are so far going to be 2 very different Protoss armies duking it out. And even though I talked about, every army ending up with like Archon Zealots and stuff, I don't know if Harstem did this because maybe he feels this is a good defensive map with all the chokes and stuff, or whether he just felt behind and thought he had to resort to this. Either way, we're going to see very different armies duking it out.
Yeah, I mean, Disruptors are really cool, especially in the mid game. I'm not sure. Oh, this is great! Oh no! That's huge.
My gosh, ShaDoWn just stood there and took it. He's obviously focusing on something else, and I think it's his Warp Prism that's heading into Harstem's base right now, but Harstem's ready for that as well.
Nice, and Blink wasn't yet done for Harstem, but is able to repel the attack no less, and now even tags the army, so he's going to be very confident defending and looking wherever he needs to look.
That is one of the saddest things, right? Like 2 Disruptors just wander into your army without you seeing it, and boom, just losing quite a chunk like that. And that really took all the wind out of ShaDoWn's sails for any sort of pressure that he was looking to do.
Yeah, I love how Harstem just pushes out with the Disruptors because he knows, he has the army tagged. That's so funny. Is it enough though? I mean, he used all the Disruptor shots, but I mean, the cooldowns are gonna refresh, and there's not gonna be any punishment from ShaDoWn. Harstem also using the Oracles to kind of slow down the army of ShaDoWn should he want to push into him whilst planning for a 4th. So great moves here from Harstem. I like the way this is looking for him.
I'm a big fan of the stasises that he's using as well. Just kind of like being out of his base a little bit and just having those stasises just in case his opponent chases him. Like, that makes it so difficult for you as a Zealot Archon player that really wants to collapse on your opponent, but he's unable to do it.
Yeah, that's an excellent point. I mean, there's not really much in the way of range to deal with those stasises. You kind of have to run units that's extra actions and some units guaranteed to be stopped by them. So at the very least, it'll slow you down and remove a little bit of your army. I love this stasises.
Both players opting for Dark Shrine as well. We're getting a Blink on the way for ShaDoWn, along with his own Disruptors and Colossi. Definitely unusual play by him. And yeah, it's not every day you see Colossi without getting the Thermal Lance upgrade.
Yeah, I'm not sure how that plays. Also, because Colossi kind of just stand on top of the army, so does that make it a higher liability for the likes of Disruptors?
Honestly, no clue. Yeah, like he's really okay. Now he's just pummeling out lots of Disruptors. Maybe it's one of those things that he's seen how diligent Harstem is with scouting, that he hopes he does scout it and responds it like wrongly somehow. I'm not sure, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure how he would respond. The Colossus is definitely a little bit of an oddball here. I have no idea what he's doing. And yeah, I mean, he will stand on top of the unit, so it'll be, you know, a little bit of an extra liability against Disruptors. But we'll see what ShaDoWn's plan is as he decides to push into this gateways.
This Colossus is happy tagging along, though. Hasn't really shot anything just yet, but, you know, he's coming out. And, Harstem has quite a few Disruptors.
Oh, very nice attack by ShaDoWn, though, on the 4th. Could take it down if he focuses it, but he's more concerned with keeping his army alive for the time being. Pulls Harstem on the other direction. Very nice moves.
And Harstem, like, there's no observer in this army of ShaDoWn, so these DTs are just kind of fending off this army itself. So, yeah, weird little interactions here between the units of both of them. ShaDoWn is now up in economy, like he's got quite a probe lead. Harstem's having to resupply there. Army-wise, like, we're now getting to scary amounts of Disruptors by both of them. 5 for ShaDoWn, 6 for Harstem.
Oh, this very nice dodge at the very last second, and the Disruptor will pay the price, actually. Two sentries using their force fields as well, so a very bad trade there for Harstem.
Yeah, I mean, these Zealots are kind of like, yeah, we'll stick around. It's quite comfortable with you. Oh, there's a lot of Disruptors. Takes down. Oh, crap.
These Disruptors are hateful, man. They're
it's
just like not pulling any punches.
Yeah, it's like you fire 3 at me, I'm going to fire 4 at you, mate. Like, freak me, but 2 more Disruptors. So he's ShaDoWn's pummeling out 2 Disruptors at a time. He's also going for Shadow Stride over here, the Blink DT ability, which is really, really cool. Like, this is getting to super late game PvP here.
Yeah, and I'm enjoying it. I mean, Harstem just taking War Prism on his side of the map is really nice for him. ShaDoWn hasn't remade it yet, but it's so important to have those War Prisms, right? Especially on the side of ShaDoWn. They have been so effective throughout this series that you really want to see that kind of tactic playing a part, especially when the other player is on your side of the map.
We have so many late game upgrades coming in. Like talked about the Blink DTs. We have Warp Prism speed for Harstem, +3 for both players. This is one of those battles where it's like one mistake could really cost you everything over here. And so far, ShaDoWn's doing a little bit better, it seems, in the little skirmishes between the Disruptors, but by no means has either player taken too much damage just yet.
Yeah, and there's a ramp here. That's the scary part for Harstem, and where ShaDoWn is positioning his units very well. But Harstem really winning on the vision front with those oracles, and now taking more positions with the stasis traps.
But ShaDoWn, that's not his only gambit. And he's got this huge army at the top of the map as well, which is like 2 Archons, 2 or 3 DTs, and a bunch of Zealots. Even got his own Observer here to deal with the defensive DTs. But Harstem's managing this well, I think. And battery overcharge on DTs. Even the stasis, actually. Oh,
very nice.
Disruptor hits again.
Yeah, both players really playing with each other's attention here, realizing if I'm losing on one front, I'm going to look on the other front and hope that you're not watching there. But yeah, the Observer gets sniped, so that's going to be the end of this party in the north for ShaDoWn, and Harstem still positioning aggressively out on the map with his big army.
And even +1 air weapons coming into play for ShaDoWn as well, which does indicate for me, I know Rotti's like screaming with joy. Oh, that was a weird disruptive shot from ShaDoWn, but Rotti's screaming for joy somewhere out there at the +1 weapons coming in. But yeah, what does that really signify? Like, is he going to go for carriers against Master Stalker? I don't think that's necessarily the choice, but
yeah, it's difficult to know. Could it be? I don't see how it could be a mistake, but it has to be carriers or Void Rays, right? It can't be Phoenix at this point. He would have to make so many Phoenix. He is adding an extra Stargate though. I mean, Phoenix seemed like the good choice against Disruptors, but this many Stalkers, Ben. I'm not sure.
Yeah, it's also Harstem adding on an extra Stargate and a Fleet Beacon here, going also for his own air upgrade. So this is going the full circuit here of Protoss. Of the Protoss arsenal, which is super cool to see. Like, the Disruptors obviously deal with everything on the ground if used correctly.
Oh, this is very cute by ShaDoWn. He's holding the ramp with his large force. Oh, these Disruptors could be huge, though. They could get caught. And there's a huge blink from ShaDoWn, but now he doesn't have it to escape.
I am not entirely sure if this was the correct move by ShaDoWn. Yes, he's out on the map and stuff, and yes, he's pressuring Harstem. By the way, Harstem's on 4 bases. ShaDoWn's on taking his 7th right now, like 6th and 7th at the same time. Like, economically, well, they've both got similar work accounts, but ShaDoWn's feeling more comfortable despite losing his big army there, it seems.
Yeah, I mean, that's what the space out on the map, I think, buys him, is the space to kind of double expand at that point in time. And yeah, I think you're right. That was really awkward, the engagement, right? Because he wasn't expecting for the Disruptors, I think, to be where they were, because the Disruptors kind of walked to Harstem's 4th, whereas the rest of the army took the ramp. So ShaDoWn must have gotten caught off guard. And then he decides to blink on the Disruptors, which is what I intuitively was thinking was the right call. But then loses a lot of his army for it. Big blink from Harstem here.
Absolutely massive, and his army is looking so much more stocky. Even though it's a nimble army and it's Stalker Disruptor still, he's adding on a mothership back at home as well. And it looks like ShaDoWn's response to everything is just to throw down more gateways and more Stalkers.
That's the way. The Dark Shrine will get sniped from ShaDoWn, and that's super annoying. We've seen how important DTs are through and through in this matchup. Just not only harassing, like we see how powerful they are here. Finally, some vision is showing up, but not before all the Stalkers are dying.
Those DTs are hero DTs. I don't know how well they just traded, but look at the resources lost tab in this game. Harstem's traded so much more efficiently, and Harstem's really pouncing on his opponent here as well.
Yeah, he really is. ShaDoWn trying to play a Sergi type of Protoss, but his army is nowhere to be found at this point, lagging 50 supply behind. Things are looking amazing for Harstem.
Absolutely, he's really punishing ShaDoWn at this point. What kind of tech does ShaDoWn have? He has 37 Stalkers on the map. Just one Disruptor popped out now. Like, he has been throwing away army after army, and Harstem's now punishing him for it.
Yeah, no real anchor to his army in the back, right? Like, the Disruptor numbers have dwindled for ShaDoWn. He doesn't really have any X-Factor units that could bring him back at this point. I mean, he's really heavily relying on trying to maintain a heavier economy somehow than Harstem, but that's not gonna cut it.
And it's not even the case anymore either. No. Like, he's down to 44 probes against 78 of Harstem. The resources lost tab as well. I'm just going to mention these numbers. 16k lost for Harstem, 30k for ShaDoWn. He has been almost twice as efficient with his units.
Yeah, and that is, I mean, that is just speaks to the great defense that we've seen all game long for Harstem, who is now a little bit more adventurous on the offense, and of all units is the mothership that adventures out there.
Stalker hug, that is what's happening right now. The Disruptor shots do come in by ShaDoWn, actually. And
yeah,
Harstem's army is a little bit cleaned up, but he is the one with a 60 supply lead right now. This game is nuts.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, ShaDoWn is going to be super down in economy. Harstem has a mothership. Harstem has 5 bases. That is 2 over ShaDoWn and the larger army. I don't see how ShaDoWn comes back, but I mean, making the Disruptors is, I think, the right call. If he's ever going to have a chance, it's going to be these 3 Disruptors shooting and hitting every shot.
It's so demoralizing, though. You see your opponent's teched up all the way to mothership, and you've been kind of knocked back to square one. Also, I love this little armada, this fleet of observers over ShaDoWn's army. He's not letting DTs get the better of him this time.
Oh, definitely not. Yeah, that's a lot of. I mean, the mothership is not going to be super effective here either, I guess, if you have five observers to make up for it.
No, certainly not. Certainly not. Harstem's army is just, it looks bigger, it looks stronger. Oh.
That poor
Last second
Zealot.
blink.
That poor Zealot got jebaited. He was never gonna get hit either. The stalkers just walked to him. The poor thing exploded on all by himself. And now Harstem on the hunt. He's gonna get those disruptors before they can recharge, and I think this might just be it. GG is called.